Albert Einstein, as mentioned in the previous speech, Bill Gates, Michael Jordan. When most people hear these names, they think of one word: innate ability. That these people were born with some special ability that allowed them to accomplish superhuman feats that to the rest of us seem impossible. But the subject of my speech and what I'm here to tell you today is that these people did have a special gift. They had a special gift that's available in all of us. And that's with the right sort of practice and dedication, it can all be unlocked. Which leads me to my first point: practice and hard work. Nobody achieves any ability on this planet without practice and hard work. The year was 1763, and a newspaper in Europe releases an article about a young 7-year-old prodigy that could recognize any musical instrument on the harpsichord, violin, piano. You could even be in another room and you'd be playing the piano here, be telling you middle C, E flat. Didn't even have to be a musical instrument, it could be the chime of a clock. You say that's an E flat. Well, that young prodigy was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. And the scientific term known for that ability is known as perfect pitch. And up until a few years ago, it was thought that only 1 in 10,000 people could develop an ability to acquire perfect pitch. But a psychologist from Japan published an article in 2014 in the scientific journal Psychology where he recruited 24 children ages 2 through 6. And the goal was every single day from a period of 6 months to 18 months, he gave them 4 to 5 short training sessions. And the goal was to get them to be able to recognize 14 chords on the piano. And it took varying amounts of time for all these different children, but at the end of the 18 months, all 14 children were able to recognize all 14 chords. And what they found out was all 24 children developed perfect pitch. Looking back at history, we find out that Mozart's father was a musician and never achieved the level of success that he desired. So he set out from early on to develop that success in his children. And from the age of 4, he worked with Mozart full-time, developing his musical skills. So did Mozart have some special ability? Oh yeah, he had the same special ability that those 24 kids had. And that's that with practice and dedication. We all can develop this ability that only 1 in 10,000 people have. What that leads me to is that our brains are highly adaptable, just like our muscles are adaptable. A study was published in the journal Science in 1995 by a psychologist at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And what he did was he took 2 groups. He took 6 musicians that were all right-handed that played stringed instruments. He took 6 non-musicians. And what he did was he took magnetic scans of their brains. And what he found out was that the regions of their brains devoted to controlling the manual dexterity in their left fingers was much larger in the musician group than the non-musician group. An implication from this is clear. It's that the mind is highly adaptable just like our muscles are. Just as physical exercise produces changes in our muscles, through the right sort of practice we can adapt our brains and produce physical changes in our brains. And what this leads me to is this whole idea of innate talent and the pitfalls we fall into by doing this. A study was published in the Journal of Developmental Science in 2008, and it found that children in their preschool years that play board games, linear board games that involve counting, tend to initially do better in math when they reach kindergarten and first grade. And teachers not knowing this, initially just say, hey, you're gifted. Hey, guess what? You're going into the gifted section, and you are not so gifted. What happens to the gifted students is they end up getting more attention, they end up getting better training, and throughout the years their mathematical skills propagate, whereas these other children get left behind. And when these children here reach the age of adulthood, what we find out is careers like math, science, and engineering are closed to them because they did not have this innate ability. And what this innate ability creates, it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy that only certain people are born with certain abilities to do certain things. And what we're doing by doing that is we're losing a whole generation of potential, of people that could acquire special things if all we did was find ways to motivate them and find ways to unlock that potential that everybody has. And it's by motivation. There was a Swedish runner named Gunster Hag in the 40s. He broke many records in middle distance in the mile. He set many records. And one thing, he would train running in the forest. And his father would always tell him, hey, you ran the 450, you ran the 452. And he kept running and running and getting better. Well, years later, after he broke all his records, he found out that his father lied to him when he was training in the forest, and was actually running in the 550s. And he says, his father, they interviewed him later on, and he said that he lied to him because he thought his son was going to give up. And he had to find a way to motivate him. And he did find that way to motivate him, and the rest is history. So like I said, it's finding that way to motivate people and finding that right practice to unlock that hidden potential that's available in all of us. And what that leads me to is, it's through something called deliberate practice. But we call ourselves Homo sapiens, or the knowing man, because what distinguishes us from our ancestors, the Homo erectus, is our vast amount of knowledge. What I'm here to tell you today is there is a better way to think of ourselves, and that's to think of ourselves as the practicing man. And that's that through the right sort of practice, we all can achieve whatever we are willing to achieve. And what's that right sort of practice? Well, I'm glad you asked. I will be speaking next week, and through visual aids and examples, I will be highlighting examples of deliberate practice. So you too in your life, in everyday life, can realize that it's not that we were born with some innate ability, but as a human species, we can achieve anything that we're willing to achieve through the right sort of dedication.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. It's a great pleasure to evaluate Michael's number 7 speech, which is from our Conflict Communication Manual. This is Research Your Topic, where we're instructed to use outside sources to support our points and document the importance of those outside sources. You hit that out of the park. You had 4 very nice examples from different parts of the literature that you used to make your point. Great job there. I also like the way you vibrantly prepared us for our experience by your great title. That, even as we're reading off the form, was inspiring to us. I think you also had an excellent message for all of us. So in fact, as I'd asked you, what would you like me to review for your speech, you said, did I inspire people? I think you clearly did inspire the group. You had 3 points. One was practice and dedication, a second was motivation, and a third was deliberate practice. And you said instead of thinking of ourselves as having innate ability or not having innate ability, really those 3 points could override whatever our seeming ability is or was in every case. You need to enunciate a little more clearly when you make your points. For example, you said in one word innate ability, that's actually 2 words. And some other times you said doing instead of doing. So in general, the advice that Carrie gave for speech number 1, slow down, practice enunciating, exaggerate that at home. You don't have to be quite so exaggerating here, but it will help you with getting your message across to all of us. And it's better King's English. The other improvement you might have made would have been to have stated the 3 points that we can all apply at the beginning, and then summarize those again at the end. They were all there throughout your stories, but it was not the classic example we try to do with all our speeches, which is state what you're going to tell us, and then state what you told us. That would have made it even more powerful. My word for the day for September is song. Thank you.